Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only, based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. We study Revelation. We're doing chapters 6 through 8 today, basically the sixth seal, and then moving through the seventh, and then into the trumpets, the first four. So we're talking about a planetary defense force that China's instituting. Why? When? How? What's going on with this? This is ridiculous. Why do we need a planetary defense force? What's going on in the sky? Why is China prepping? Well, Peter Zahan says this is ridiculous. They are prepping above ground for 120 days with a stockpile as if it's not a warlike type of a thing unless it's Star Wars, okay? But they're preparing this 120-day stockpile. It doesn't look strong to him because he's looking at it as a military man. He's not military, obviously, but he's looking at it militarily, and so they're prepping. There's no doubt about it. But what are they trying to do? I think it's a Star Wars situation. It's not Star Wars against America or Martians. It's Star Wars against the little stars falling. That's biblical. Okay. This is from the Hindustan Times. This is from February 15th of 2025. I'm recording on the 16th. And so what I want you to see is that China is hiring for Planetary Defense Force amid concerns of asteroid hitting Earth. There's one due in 2032, but there's another one due in 2029. China is telling us that an asteroid is going to hit us, but they aren't exactly stating why or which one, okay? And so it's very interesting. They're hiring people. Yes, one asteroid, now the 2024 YR4, has increased. It's doubled the odds of hitting the Earth. And so China is preparing for Star Wars, people, okay? So what are we doing? We're showing you the Bible. We're showing you the prophecies that are coming up. We'll get to them by the end of the presentation. And then also we're talking about the news. So Ben Davidson has been talking about the news for years, about the auroras that are just getting worse every year. And really, they're little tiny CMEs or flares from the sun that are kicking off these huge auroras. And so he thinks this is telling us that at some point in time, there will be a super solar storm in addition to a pole flip, and it's by about 2030 to 2040. And so my date that's intriguing is 2032, 2033. The main thing is the Carrington events type of things happen about every 150 to 200 years. The last one was 164 years ago. We're overdue. Okay, nearly all of our species would collapse and you'd lose about 90% of your population. Okay, so that's Ben Davidson saying that from Suspicious Observers, Now Space Weather News. My opinions is this sounds like the sixth seal, and they would never again be hungry, never again be thirsty. The sun will not fall on them, and nor any burning heat from Revelation 7:16. That's basically coming out of the Great Tribulation. But all of these things are signs. It's like a leaky diaper, okay? And so continuing on, physics.org is talking about this. Yes, the odds of an asteroid striking Earth have doubled. No, you don't need to worry. Yes, you do. The first one that's the most serious, actually, believe it or not, China isn't talking about this one, is Apophis. April 13th of 2029. The second one is interesting because it just doubled to 2.3% chance of hitting us, and that's December 22nd of 2032. So ESA is noting it, physics.org is noting it. Germany is tracking these asteroids and meteorites that seem to be coming towards the Earth. This gentleman on the right-hand side from Orbital Daily said he tracked two in France in 2023, one over the Arctic Ocean in 2022, and then the one in 2024. So it's very interesting to note that. And so there is another impact that's due at some point in time, 2041. I hope I live long enough to see that one, April 24th then. And so this is coming from NASA, Jet Propulsion, JPL, Jack Parsons Labs. And so it could potentially hit. June 15th of 2024, it was discovered. The hit would be April 24th of 2041. Interesting. Okay, continuing on, let's talk the seals then. Let's show you how this fits biblically and prophetically. So the seals have been on for many, many years, but now we believe that they're supposed to be opened as knowledge increases. And so we're basically, Revelation 22 talks about how it's time to open up the seals and talk about it, John. So, but you, Daniel, keep these words secret and seal up the book until the time of the end. Many will rush here and there as knowledge increases. Daniel 12:4. So it has been sealed, and you can't open up the scroll until all of the seals are removed. So I'm arguing that Zechariah 6 talks about the directions. Directions matter. Specific colors matter. The colors can be studied via the Septuagint and the Hebrew and figure things out. They're eerily similar with the 7 seals, basically 4 of them, in Revelation chapter 6 all the way through 8. So the 4 greatest events so far: relinquishing the Temple Mount on basically 6/6 of 67. You see what I'm doing with 666. And so I'm saying that the West, you wouldn't notice that unless you know Zechariah 6. Acharith in the Zechariah 6 is talking about behind you, the west of you. And so when they relinquished the Temple Mount, it's like all hell broke loose on the earth. And it became sex, drugs, and rock and roll after that. 9/11 changed the world then. The next biggest event. And that was when Bush, Cheney, the neocons said it's time to go invade the whole planet and lakak shalom, snatch peace from the earth. And they've done that. And so they kicked the hornet's nest. 2012 was interesting. According to a man that came to my particular fellowship in Hudson, Wisconsin, he said, after Sukkot, but before the end of October, there will be a great storm. The signs will be snow and a broom. And I asked about the seals, and he said the 3rd seal opened during the summer of 2012. And it was prophesied exactly like it occurred. Hurricane Sandy arrived on Halloween 2012. Then that was during the first day of Jeroboam's false Sukkot from 1 Kings 12. And then Obama was reelected, and showing we were a divided nation. And then the aftermath caused snow and a broom across the East Coast. And if you look at inflation, especially eggs, but other inflation, you've noticed that the 3rd seal seems to be open since 2012. Then the jibby jabber in 2020-ish, and causing peak death and things like that, seems to be the 4 plagues of the 4th seal. Okay, the 4th horseman. Then the 5th seal happens to be martyrdom. That's occurring all the time. And then the 6th seal, we'll describe it in the next slide. So going through the dates, I just want you to see this because it's so intriguing. And so you've got the 1st horseman to the 2nd horseman seems to be in my calendar, or my time frames, 12,516 days. Then the 2nd horseman to the 3rd horseman seems to be about 3,974 days. Then the next one would be the 3rd to the 4th, which would be 2,701 days. Then the next one would be the 4th to the 5th, which would be 1,340 days. To then the 6th seems like 666 days if we're calculating to the time frame that's coming up pretty quick here in 2025. Okay, so moving forward, the 6th seal sounds like this in part. Then I watched as he broke the 6th seal, and there was a great earthquake. I'm arguing that's a micronova dust event that will unlock the crust, and the mantle will break free. Not significantly, we won't all die, but it'll be frightening. And the sun turned black. That's a stage of micronova, as sackcloth. It's in the Greek, it's sakos trikonos. That's like a goat's shiny mohair, angora garment. It's worn in mourning, and the full moon became blood red. So it is a full moon lunar eclipse. Okay, blood red. And the next one is March 13, 14 of 2025, then September 8 and 7 and 8 from 2025, and then 2026 too. The stars, in the Greek, it's limiting. It's Astarte. Let's call them little figs, dust figs, fell to the earth as a micronova dust accumulation event. Again, just as a fig tree drops its bitter winter timing figs when shaken by a strong wind. So that's Revelation 6, 12 through 13. So what we're arguing is wrath comes after that. But if you see the sun going from yellow to white to red to black, it's going to micronova, especially if the blood moon is turning, is eclipsing. So just be aware of that. If those things occur, be aware of it. So here's the dates of the blood moon eclipses coming up. As I mentioned, a couple in 2025, one in 2026, a big gap, and then it moves forward into 2032 and 2033. There's 4 of them. The 2 in 2032 are 30 days late by the biblical calendar, the festivals, but still intriguing. 30 days late it sounds like Daniel, the extra 30 days. So what I want to state to you is then after the 6th seal, you'd go into the 7th seal, and that is where you have silence and other weird things occurring. So after this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth so that no wind, no trade winds, no jet streams, nothing, no wind would blow on the land or on the sea, on any tree. I saw another angel coming up from the east with a seal from the living God, and he shouted to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm the land and the sea, to not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the 144,000 servants of God on their foreheads, Revelation 7, 1 through 3. So we are going to go through a time frame when it's very, very windy, then suddenly the winds will cease, and it seems to be related to Yom Kippur. Just be aware of that. Very intriguing. When the Lamb broke the seventh seal, I'm saying it's unsealed then, because that's all of the seals, and that seems to be a time date stamp too. We'll see. There was silence in heaven for what seemed to be a half an hour. That's kind of the Yom Kippur at dusk. There's that silence. You're hungry, you're tired, you're thirsty, and then the big trumpet, the Tekiah Gedola, would blow, or Selpingus Megalus. Those are the typical phrases for when that would blow on Yom Kippur at dusk. And your sins are hopefully forgiven, and then the seven angels who stand before God, and they were given seven shofars, Revelation 8, 1 through 2. Continuing on, then the angel came and stood at the altar with a gold incense bowl, and he was given a large quantity of incense. That's what occurs on Yom Kippur. Okay, a large quantity of incense to add to the prayers of all God's people on the gold altar in front of the throne. The smoke of the incense service went up with the prayers of God's people from the hand of God, of the angel before God. So Revelation 8, 3 through 4. Interesting. Yom Kippur related, okay? And I'm arguing again, this is even more Yom Kippur related. Then the angel took the incense bowl, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it down onto the earth, and there followed peals of thunder, voices, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Now the seven angels with the seven shofars prepared to sound them. That's once again, if you see Tekiah Gedola, it doesn't say that. The shofars, it doesn't say Salpizo or Selpingus or Tekiah. It basically, you need the Gedola to be the final one, okay? So just keep that in mind. It just says a trumpet or trumpet being blown, okay? Continuing on, these are the seven trumpets of Revelation, and so the first four are man's environment plagued, and that makes sense. It's debris coming from space that's gradually larger, and one of them is wormwood, and I will point that out to you so you can see that's the third trumpet, okay? But the first one is flaming hail, falls from the sky, burning a third of the vegetation. The second one is an asteroid falls into the sea, turning it or a third of it to blood, kills a third of the sea creatures. The third one is wormwood, and it pollutes fresh water, many die. Then the fourth trumpet is the sun, the moon, the stars struck and diminished light by a third, and that's a dust event. I'll explain that to you in the next slide. I'm seeing that the space debris gets larger each time, and wormwood is very large and seems to match up with 2029, okay? Then you've got the other three woes, and we'll discuss that some other time, but I'm arguing that those all seven occur before you get to the midpoint. So during the first half of the final 7 years, before the seven bowls are poured out, the seventh trumpet is not a Tekiah Gedola blast again, or a Salpingus Megalus. So it's not the last, the eschaton or great trumpet. It's not. And so you just continue on through the bowls, and then you'll finally get to it at the end of the bowls. Continuing on again, is the third trumpet the wormwood? It is wormwood in the Bible, but is it 99942, which could be 66642, Apophis? Okay, and so this John Cullen mentioned China establishes planetary defense unit in response to the threat of an asteroid that could hit Earth in 2029. He fixed it. It's all about Apophis. Interesting that he discovered that. Don't fall for the cover-up. So China's saying, watch out for 2032, when they're actually saying it's 2029, and that's what they're setting it up for. Where is it going to hit? This is going to get intriguing, people, because I'll show you two prophecies that match with that in probably the next slide. So Apophis, you can see it's huge. It's taller than the Empire State Building, and you can see other structures nearby, how big Apophis is going to be. This simulation estimates an impact in the Atlantic Ocean approximately 500 miles northeast of Puerto Rico, 2,000 miles southeast of Miami. Interesting. In 2029, China's thinking that this will be an event that will just devastate the world. So the prophecy side of this is Efren Rodriguez. He saw Apophis, basically, or some kind of an asteroid or comet hit the Earth years ago in 2013, And so he, publicized it. And then Tom Horn did too. He saw the wormwood prophecy. So he saw that Apophis would be wormwood. And so catastrophe, according to Ephraim, meteor, tsunami, and earthquake that will devastate Florida, Cuba, all those places in the eastern Atlantic there, or the western Atlantic. Okay, Tom Horn, the wormwood prophecy, and I'm citing Prophecy Club's slide for this. So basically, let's just talk about it then. This is the biggest judgment to hit the earth since the flood, some 4,500 years ago. Prophet Ephraim Rodriguez was shown in a vision that a large meteor would hit near Puerto Rico and cause a tsunami 1,000 feet high at Puerto Rico. By the time it hits the east coast of America, it will be 200 to 400 feet high. That'll devastate Florida. It'll all be gone. And will go inland with its destruction going 20 to 100 miles. It hits an earthquake fault, which runs up the Mississippi River. So that's the New Madrid fault line to the Great Lakes and splits America wide open from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, cause much of the West Coast from California to Alaska to fall into the ocean. Wow. So that's the prophecy side from two men. Okay, now the quote that I just showed you was from Ephraim, but Tom Horn said some other interesting things, and you can buy his Wormwood Prophecy book if you'd like. Interesting. Okay, so once again, the sixth seal is a dust event, but it's also the blood moon eclipse. It's also an earthquake. It's also, the dust comes and falls at us like stars in the Greek. And then you go into the fourth, which is just after wormwood, and that's where a third of the sun is struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, and a third of them were darkened by dust, I argue. And so that's another dust event. And then you finally get into the fourth bowl. We're not talking about the bowls today, but it's another event, probably with a micronova involved in it too, a larger one, a very devastating one. So just keep that in mind. There's a process that you go through where these dust events affect us, and they cause signs in the skies. And keep in mind, when you're reading, specifically in the text in Revelation 6 or 8 or any of those things, what you're looking for is that it affects the sun and the moon and the stars. It is not affecting the earth. We're observing it, but it's occurring in the cosmos. That's where the prophecy is. Is the earth wobbling? Yes. Are we in big trouble? Yes. Is it sounding like Isaiah 24? Yes, the signs are making sense. So Isaiah 24 states it this way: "Oh, how the traitors betray and betray. Terror, pit, and trap are upon you. You who are living on the earth, he who flees at the sound of terror will fall into the pit. He who climbs up out of the pit will be caught in the trap for the windows." It's aruba in the Hebrew, floodgates, lattice, sluice. It's like opening up the gates to let waters out on the dam so it doesn't break. Above have been opened, the earth's foundations shake, the earth cracks and breaks open, the earth crumbles to pieces, the earth trembles and totters, the earth staggers to and fro like a drunk, sways back and forth. That's what's occurring right now with the North Pole moving like it is. Like a watchman's shelter, the poles will flip. Its transgression weighs heavy upon it. It will fall and not rise again. So basically, I live in Minnesota. I'm going to be on the 45th parallel south, and I am exactly on the 45th parallel north right now. And I'll just flip, okay? But if you're China, India, Asia, those areas, you will flip up to the North Pole. You will suddenly arrive at the North Pole and die. This is from suspicious observers from a few months ago. The Earth will flip over. It's happened before. It'll happen again. Israel, oddly enough, will be at the 45th parallel north when it flips. Okay, so Ben's warning again, Ben Davidson, he's saying, solar ozone destruction, solar forcing of heat, solar forcing of precipitation, solar forcing of wind, solar forcing of lightning, solar forcing of storms, solar forcing of so many different things, okay? And so it'll be amplified now because Earth's field is weakening. So basically, what we're talking about is be shrewd during these times and start to prepare, because China is aware of these cosmological changes. And Wilkerson is too. So this came from 1973 from the vision. The Bible predicts that in the last days, unusual signs will appear in the heavens: blood, fire, vapors of smoke. I do not know the full significance of what Joel saw in the vision, but I do know that what I've seen reinforces everything. I'm sorry, I can't read it because of my timer. There will appear strange and baffling signs in the heavens and stars. Many prophets over the centuries have seen visions of a huge comet colliding with the earth, spreading blood red kind of pollution over lakes, streams, and oceans, and causing unusual signs to appear above. I have seen no new revelation, and I can find no scripture that corroborates with the vision of colliding planets. Okay, so that won't happen. There's no Nibiru. Okay, not prophetically, not biblically, nothing. But when I have seen what I have seen and can freely share is that the Holy Spirit confirms to my heart that the predictions of the prophet Joel will actually be seen and experienced by this generation. I'm still in that generation. Now I'm 66. I believe the prophets either saw cosmic storms of such magnitude that they appeared to Earth inside Earth people as balls of fire blazing through the sky, leaving behind a vapor-like trail, or rain of falling stars or comets racing through Earth's atmosphere. So that's page 40 of the vision and 39. Very interesting. We will see these types of things occur. This was from 1833. The Mormons happened to be there. The Millerites, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they all watched this and figured, that's it. That's the sixth seal. It's not yet, but it will occur. You will see something like this in your lifetime. It will not kill you, but it'll frighten you. And that'll be part of the sixth seal. So then other things will occur. So basically, we're in the birth pangs. We're probably very close to the sixth seal. Then the tribulation, which would be, I argue, the trumpets, the 7 of them. Then the bowls would open during the Great Tribulation, the last 3.5 years. We're experiencing Star Wars right now. China is very frightened that they won't be battling America or someone else out in this, or aliens out in the stars. They will be battling against the physical stars themselves as things start to crash in. Meteorites, asteroids, things like that. That's what's going on. You need to work on you, which is at some point in time in the future, you can't be naked. You need garments. Rosh Hashanah is coming up every year, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, but it could be a wedding year at some point in time. So get ready for your wedding and get your garments ready. Be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. And we'll hopefully see you again next week. I'm having tons of computer problems. Pray for me. Thanks. Bye.